This is the story of our summer holiday 2013. So, give it a go, Joan.
It's 90 minutes by ship for us to reach the BC mainland. Our summer holiday this year starts without the usual airport hassle. We're on a road trip and about to head east through BC, into Montana, and then into Alberta. The Rockies are the first range of mountains after the Central Plains of North America. They extend nearly 5,000 kilometers. Several other mountain ranges lie between the Rockies and the West Coast, but everyone thinks of the Rockies as the formidable barrier to early European settlement of this continent.
So, we start in Victoria, and we'll visit the mountains between Glacier Park in Montana right up to Jasper Park in Alberta. Our first stop is in Kelowna, on to Nelson, and then crossing into the US and on to Kalispell. From there we go up to Golden and Jasper, with a break on the way home at Kamloops. This is a 3,500 kilometre trip, taking 10 days.
It's the start of September, and Kelowna is still hot. This area is called the Okanagan, after the 135-kilometre-long lake of that name, and it is renowned for its hot, dry summers.
The lake is reputed to be home of a monster called
Ogopogo.
Yeah, the silly name derives from a 1924 British music hall song, which may have enjoyed some popularity, but is not expected to have a comeback any time soon. You would, of course, recognize it instantly as the theme music in our introduction.
The lakeshore is attractive in Kelowna. A superb water park just reaffirms the message of blistering hot summers in this area. The whole downtown ambience is very pleasant and leafy. We like the white cleome and harvested seeds for growing next year at the Government House Nursery Garden in Victoria.
There are smaller communities along the lakeshore. This is at a farmer's market in Summerland. A nearby community is called Peachland. So, by now, the message is becoming clear. This is the fruit-growing area of BC. The lakeshore is one continuous orchard at the southern end of the lake. The horticultural practices reflect those of the intensive grape-growing areas of Europe. There's excellent wine produced here too. The area's wealth is not confined to the fruit-growing industry. There's ranching too, and the area has another summer crop, recreation vehicles. They mean that tourism is yet another component of the economic success which is immediately apparent to even a casual observer.
Our next stop is Nelson, in the beautiful Selkirk Mountains. We stayed at the restored Hume Hotel right downtown. The check-in counter is a throwback to another time. This was a silver mining town that got so rich that the early shacks were replaced with elegant stone buildings.
The principal architect was a Yorkshireman from Leeds, called Francis Rattenbury. He died just after we were born, and did so much to elevate the downtown core of Victoria from its earlier shantytown beginnings.
US draft dodgers settled in Nelson during the Vietnam War in the 1970s. They gave the place a distinct and lasting character.
Nelson is on an arm of Kootenay Lake, and an old streetcar still plies the shoreline as a tourist attraction. It must be one of the few streetcars to travel right through a Walmart parking lot. The combination is not good, regardless of how hard the driver pounds the bell. So, onward into Montana. Kalispell is the largest town close to Glacier National Park. The road through the park is called Going to the Sun Road and crosses the Continental Divide at Logan Pass. Water to the west goes to the Pacific, and the other way probably some of it winds up in Toronto or Memphis. This pass gets huge snowfalls, and the road is only open 3 months of the year. The park is really all about the road, so let's do it.
Special red buses are one option, but we elect to drive. The buses congregate at the old MacDonald Lake Lodge. The lodge has the usual collection of yesteryear artifacts, but its free Wi-Fi seemed to capture most attention of those in the reception area. Just look, most have smartphones or tablets. We thought they came here to get away from it all.
So, here's the journey to the summit. We're glad of sunny skies. This would be a very different experience in poorer weather. This place, right at the summit, is a magnet for Lexus sport utility vehicles and usually fills by 9:30 each day. There's no food service. One eats in the parking lot, even if you have a Lexus. It's nice to see the maple leaf flag, as this is a joint park straddling the Alberta-Montana border. We plan a hike up here for tomorrow and go off to do other exploration today.
We encounter our first wildlife, a piker that has a nervous disposition to drive any photographer totally up the wall, but this is a good shot. In fact, we saw very little wildlife on the whole trip. Park staff have smartened up and maybe even read their own visitor information material. Bears no longer connect humans with food, and there is lots of evidence of the ways in which they are being sent packing.
So, here's the next day at the summit where we planned our hike to see the White Mountain goats close up. This is just low cloud, but the message is clear, and we change our plans for something in the sunshine lower down. This gives us opportunities to meet flag persons and follow pilot cars. A big repair program has done much to ensure the road's survival. 3 months a year is all they get for the repair project.
We are in our 14-year-old Nissan Maxima, and it's doing fine. The 3-litre engine is just about right for these mountains, and the US fuel prices are 2/3 those in Canada. So for this part of the trip, we are feeling very good. Here's the car at Apgar Village, close to the park's western entrance. Just a minimum of commercial activity here, and also at the general store at the lodge. Things are slower in these parts. You will notice that the general store still lists films as being available there. There is a direct correlation between the disappearance of the glaciers and the film availability in the store. No glaciers, no film.
We're headed north now to Golden in BC. Just east of Golden is a prime Asian tourist destination, the Canadian Rockies. The town of Lake Louise is just over the Kicking Horse Pass, and world-famous Banff is close by. Actually, when we were going over the Kicking Horse Pass, we saw 4 huge horse trailers carrying the horses of the RCMP musical ride. Lake Louise is our focus, as our whole family went skiing there twice. In those days we stayed at the King's Domain, seen here after a significant recent renovation job. It's now part of the Lake Louise Inn complex. The Pipestone River thunders away at the end of the property. Trains here seem to run only at night, and they also sound a lot closer than they actually are. The ski area has great hills and usually good snow. The front face of Mount Whitehorn has 3 lifts from the valley floor to the top. In summer, one shells out $30 just to go to the mid-station on one lift. So, what have we got to lose? Time for a real memory lane trip.
The new lodge is very large and very fancy, even valet parking in winter. We get our tickets, take instructions on how to feed the bears, or not, and off we go. We used to line up here for just one lift. It was hardly in the high-speed class either, so the ski patrol handed out hot chocolate to those at the end of the line.
And we always were at the end of the line, as far as I remember, eh? Pops, That's what it says on his label, beckons us. This cable carries gondola cars and quad chairs. We elect to go on a chair.
Not much to see at mid-station, except an exhibition of stuffed bears. The ski area publishes details of grizzly bear sightings. Would you believe it, that we went on the only day with no major sightings in a 14-day period? The ski area also publishes bear photos taken by visitors to the resort, so we borrow one to remind ourselves to get luckier next time.
The ride down is something not soon forgotten, with the distant view of Lake Louise and its enclosing mountain giants. Lake Louise attracts millions of visitors for obvious reasons. We walked all the way to the far end, and back, of course. Many of the world's languages can be heard along the way. Fully charged camera batteries are a good idea here. The next stop is Jasper. The Icefields Parkway is not to be missed. The bridge at the start as we leave Lake Louise is for wildlife. Maybe we'll get lucky on this part of the trip.
This section of our journey is not just any old road trip. The Icefields Parkway is stunning. Mountains, lakes and glaciers zoom by for a couple of hours. The road is glacier heaven. The few remaining bits of glaciers in Montana are nothing compared to this area's offerings. We have now driven this road twice, and it remains right at the top of our list of scenic drives.
All driving comes to a sudden stop when wildlife shows up. An arrogant-looking mountain sheep indeed. The huge moose is not to be trifled with. The coat is so silky it even suggests grooming. This is a shot with a long lens. Getting close is ill-advised. You would think that the history of the West is all about horses and covered wagons. Well, according to Hollywood, it is. However, the truth is that it's all about railways. This is at the station in Jasper. Although these posters from the early 20th century promote Canada in the context of railway services to get there, the Canadian National Railways was at the time owned by the government. This poster campaign is aimed squarely at potential European immigrants. We actually immigrated to Canada in 1962 on a steamship owned by Canadian Pacific and transferred to one of their trains going from the port of St. John to Ottawa.
The present-day Rocky Mountaineer train is popular with tourists and uses the former Canadian National Railways tracks from Vancouver through Kamloops and on to Jasper. It can be seen in the station here late in the day. A must-see Jasper attraction is Maligne Lake, which is quite a drive out of town, but really worth it if you can beat the tourist crowds. We come very early and enjoy the tranquility for a while. The idea was to rent a canoe, but reference to the car display on this day suggests that this would not be quite the experience we wanted.
We actually spent the rest of the morning exploring the canyon of the Maligne River. It's deep and very narrow. It's only fully accessible in winter when the river is frozen. We have a great walk and stare down at the surging and colourful torrent far below. Finally it warms up, and the nearby lakes look inviting to us canoe aspirants. We haven't been in a canoe for 13 years since we got our kayaks. We also have never been in a canoe in such idyllic surroundings.
Mount Robson near Jasper is the highest point in the Canadian Rockies. The title for the whole of the Rockies goes to Mount Elbert in Colorado, which is 400 meters higher than even this magnificent peak.
Our journey home involves an overnight in Kamloops, along with many tourists from the Rocky Mountaineer in the hotel as well. The train only feeds its guests and has no sleeping cars. Leaving Kamloops, we encounter something quite rare, traffic, which finally culminates in a ferry lineup. End of a great trip. Farewell to the mainland as we think about the final page of our holiday album. What about all these postcard images that attract so many visitors to Western Canada, albeit using somewhat exaggerated brilliant colours?
We think we will just keep our own personal memory of what for us is one of the most beautiful places anywhere. Lake Louise, we intend to come back.